What's going on, everybody? It's the Hook Cam back again with another film breakdown / prediction. The Steelers and the Browns play this weekend on Sunday, I believe. One of the games that I'm actually really excited to see, Baker Mayfield, the young buck quarterback. I'm excited to see what he can do in the playoffs against the salty vet Ben Roethlisberger. I think it's going to be a really good game. I think it's going to be a pretty tight one. I think it's being predicted to be a tight one, so I don't really have any gripes with what's going on as far as the media goes and what they're saying about it. But it's definitely got its fair share of storylines. One of the Browns starting guards is going to be out, Joel Bitonio. He's an absolute stud. Browns are going to miss him, as well as their head coach Stefanski. Now, I don't think that is necessarily a death sentence. The Browns invested a lot in their coaching staff this offseason, not necessarily in preparation for things like this, but just the fact that they did, I think, is going to help them out. Obviously, Callahan, their offensive line coach, has been in the NFL for years. I don't know if he's stepping in as the head coach, but having that veteran presence on the staff, and I'm sure everybody else on there, is going to help them out tremendously. Now, how I'm going to go about breaking this down, I looked at their two games playing each other, what the Browns were trying to do in the first game, what they failed at, where they improved in their second meeting that gave the Browns that playoff berth, and how I would attack the Steelers if I were the Cleveland Browns. They do have a chance in this game, absolutely. So before I dive into all of that, if you could hit that like button, hit that subscribe button to my channel, The Hook Cam, as well as to Jackson Kruger Sports, that would mean the world to both of us. And if you guys really enjoyed this video and you really want to help out the channel, go ahead and share this bad boy. So with all of that being said, let's go ahead and dive into a little bit of what got the Browns off to a rocky start in this first game against the Steelers. I believe they played in week 5 or 6. It was something very early in the season. Now, what happens on this play, right, the Steelers really aren't doing anything crazy with this. Anybody who, you don't even really need to know anything about football, you can tell that it's pretty much man coverage across the board. As you can see, we're manned up all right here. The one little wrinkle that the Steelers do throw into this is they rob down right here on the 3 receiver side instead of to the 3 receiver side with this safety. Baker does not see it at all. He thinks that we've got this dude open right here in this first window. Instead, there's a safety waiting right there, and this pretty much gets him off to a rocky start in this first game. It's a quick pick 6, definitely not the way you want to start things off, and that kind of continued, right? And one of the things the Steelers did in this first meeting is they threw a lot of interesting pressures at them on third down. This is just one example of that. The Steelers do a really good job just because they have the talent on defense, right? They got TJ Watt, Stephon Tuitt, Minkah Fitzpatrick is on the line. That's going to throw any quarterback for a loop, as well as Bud Dupree. They got a lot of dogs on that defense going, and they're playing the right way. Devin Bush ends up filling in here, and just a little bit of a breakdown of how this thing goes. And of course, Cameron Hayward, can't forget about this dude. Pretty straight up pass rush on the left side of the offensive line. We're just working, left side of the defensive line, just working upfield here. You have Minkah Fitzpatrick up on the line, and then you sneak Devin Bush in late, and all that happens is they drop Minkah Fitzpatrick. They rush Devin Bush across the face of this guard into this A-gap, I believe. Just a good pressure that you work at, right? And this is a really good way of how you want to pressure quarterbacks, especially in today's NFL. You don't really want any gaps in your pressure, right? And you work upfield. Yeah, we might get a little bit past the depth of the quarterback with these two, but I love pressures like this because you loop your rusher right into the middle of this thing, into the teeth. So when that quarterback does try to step up, we got a guy right there. He's got nowhere to go. Big time sack for the Steelers, and this continued in that game, and that's something that you have to be ready for if you're the Browns, and I'll show you how I think they combated that in their second time. Now, defensively, for the Browns, what I would want to stay out of, right? I would want to stay out of situations where I have my corners on islands. That's going to be something that I just straight up don't want to have happen. The Steelers have a lot of talent at the receiver position. They got a salty veteran quarterback who loves his one-on-one matchups, as we see right here. The Steelers go out of a little bit of a bunch formation at the bottom, nice and tight, and there's a lot of things that you can do, especially when you're in this right here. All that really happens is they work upfield with their point man. They stem this thing out and then work a fade with Chase Claypool, and it's really like a little bit of a double move, which they burn them on in the next clip I'm going to show you guys. But again, what do we have here? We have defensive backs and receivers on islands. The reason why I don't like doing this is because of how athletic and really talented the Steelers receivers are. I want to give those guys as much help as possible, which means I would want to drop into some more more zone coverage. Maybe not necessarily just straight up, hey, we're going zone this game, although I do think that would really throw Pittsburgh for a loop. But if you can manage to get your DBs off these islands, give them a little bit of safety help, I think that would be a really big assistance to them. Right here at the top of this thing, once again, what the Steelers working out of, it's that bunch formation there at the bottom. They do a good job working this thing with the interior of this defense right here with these cats. But this right here, once again, we're on an island, a little double move right there gets this corner to bite, and the Browns are in some sort of cover 3, it looks to be in this situation. Boom, boom, we get him to bite on that. Easy touchdown for Big Ben. So defensively, that's what I'm looking to do, right? I want to stay in a more zone sort of look so that we can rally to anything underneath. Let's be great at our tackling, maybe more cover 3, right? But don't get your corners to bite on a ball like that. But again, having those guys back in zone coverage, I think is going to help you out and just rally and make tackles underneath. Obviously, it's much, much more complicated than that, but defensively, that's what I'm looking to do. Now, how about running the ball? How about this offense for the Cleveland Browns? There is no secret that this Cleveland Browns offense is predicated on running the football. They need to be great running the football. They're great running the football. That means they open up their play action. They can open up their quick game. There's a lot of things they can do, and that to me is where they feel most comfortable, right? Really simple inside zone here. And to be honest, I don't really want to put this on the back because there's really not a lot of room in this situation. But they're just, to me, they're not being physical enough at the point of attack in this game, and they really fixed that in their next game when they played the Steelers, right? They were much more physical at the point of attack. Specifically, 74 is kind of the guy that I'm looking at right here. I don't like this shuffle to working straight up with this. I would like to see a more physical double team right here working to this backer. Again, I'm not a pro football offensive line coach, just things that I noticed from my small time of coaching in high school and college. These are a couple of things that I noticed, right? We want to be great with our double teams, which means we need movement right here. That's the bottom line. We don't do horrible on this backside, right? Really good job of keeping our inside arm free when that backer does rush. But again, to me in this first game, Kareem Hunt just wasn't it was something weird, man. He wasn't reading things the right way, in my opinion. This is a good example, right? Vintage Kareem Hunt, we see this dude rip this thing backside, and we're picking up some good yardage. Instead, he tries to push it play side, and he ends up getting himself into a little bit of a bad situation. And again, one of the things about that is the fact that we have Cameron Hayward on one of our tight ends. He's manhandling him, and he's able to come off and make the play on that. Now, some of the things that did work for the Cleveland Browns in this first game when they played the Steelers is their play action game, and just kind of showing you guys how you can work off of your zone action and into your rollout game, which is what Stefanski does and did so well in Minnesota with Kirk Cousins and what he's doing well with Baker Mayfield. And this is kind of something that I thought they were going to go to when I watched the film of their second game against the Steelers. Surprisingly, it really wasn't though. But here's a good action of this wide zone, right, that we're going to get to the top, working everybody down the line of scrimmage, get these backers chasing, right? Everybody's trying to fill. We're trying to get that pressure on the backside. Instead, we roll out of it with Baker. We hit our tight end. Stuff like this is something that will get Six in his comfort zone, right? Get him a couple easy completions. Look at how much these backers are chasing on this thing too, man. This is good football right here. I absolutely love stuff like this. They have a couple of really good tight ends out in Cleveland, and they definitely know how to use all of them, right? No one's really going to be the star of that, in my opinion. Austin Hooper, David Njoku, but those guys are all athletes that you want to get the rock. So, once again, this is another clip I put in there just to show you guys they're on the right path in this situation, right? With that play action, look at how open we get. I believe that's Jarvis Landry right here, but unfortunately, our guard is getting worked. We don't have room to step up into the pocket, can't complete that ball. All things that I really feel like they're going to want to tune up going into this game. Now, some of the things that worked in this earlier game that were working to their advantage just in terms of running the rock, right? They do a lot of pre-snap motion on this, and to be honest, I think they do all that pre-snap motion so they can get this guy to bump over to the strength of the formation. That's what I believe, because it makes for an easier double team between these two cats, and that's a physical double team right there, right? And then we see Kareem Hunt doing what he does best, cutting this thing back and then getting upfield. Kareem Hunt's an absolute stud, man, and he's a very, very talented running back. But these are some of the positive plays that we saw earlier in that game, and once again, we got to get our running game going, and they continued to do this in this Week 17 game, right? They really hammered the rock in this situation, and they did it with your very, very simple duo and inside zone to the backside, or excuse me, to the play side of the formation. This I would consider would be duo, and in situations like this, the running back is supposed to read this backer. Since this backer works right here, we're going to bounce this thing to the outside, cut it upfield, right? Put your outside foot in the ground, get me yardage. Really easy stuff like this, right? And things like this that the Browns can do, I think, is going to open up the rest of their game. They were having success with this in this Week 17 game, and they didn't necessarily need to do it out of their super heavy sets. Right here, you see 11 personnel working that wide zone. Really good job from the Browns on this. And once again, when you're doing stuff like this, what are you trying to set up? You're trying to set up your play action game. You're trying to set up your rollout game. They were having success with this later in the season. Nick Chubb takes this thing to the house, right? And when you're doing that, you open up the rest of your offense. That's really what I look for the Browns to do this Sunday or Saturday whenever they play. The other thing that I noticed that they did in this Week 17 game is they mixed up their running game a lot. It wasn't just inside zone. It wasn't just duo. It wasn't just wide zone, right? They mixed in their power. They pulled their guards. All stuff that's very helpful to do, especially in the postseason, especially against the Steelers offense. You need to run the rock. You need to get long drives going. Keep that offense off the field. Keep this defense on the field. You might not be ripping this team for big runs early in the game, but as that game goes on and you tire out that defensive front, you're going to get some bigger holes right here. Great job by my right tackle here, Conklin, I believe that is. Look at this. This is a phenomenal job. Great movement on that. Great pull from Joel Bitonio on this power. I mean, this is exactly how you draw it up, man. There's a reason why they call it God's play, and that's exactly why right there. Now, going into the Browns passing game in this Week 17 game and what I think they're going to do in this weekend. What the Browns did in Week 17 is they went with a lot of empty sets. The reason why they went with empty sets is because they could get this matchup right here, I believe. Now, with this and what we're going to see, this dude right here is supposed to stay in front of number 3. And what they would do is they would work number 3 out this way. He would chase out that way, and then we would come up with something right over the middle. And they did this time and time again. I mean, and this is really good football right here, man. You got the Steelers stuck in something that they don't want to be in. You know you can manipulate it. You know you can get that ball off quick. All things that get Baker Mayfield going, right? Get this kid feeling comfortable, get him feeling dangerous. Not the best example of working number 3 here. What I really liked about this play was the fact that the Steelers were bringing heat. Baker hit his hot route right now. Phenomenal job. That's stuff that's going to win you football games, that's going to pick up first downs, and that's going to make the defense pay for bringing that pressure, right? Once again, we get heat. We know exactly where our hot is. You have to have answers when teams have pressure. All of those things I thought were really positive about this Week 17 game. Now, once again, with the Browns going with their empty set, right? Not always are we going to be attacking the 3 receiver side of the field. In this situation, right, we got Kareem Hunt down here. We have our tight end at the top, and like I said before, the way that they play this at the top is kind of how they're playing it at the bottom. They're comboing these 2 guys with these 2 defensive backs, right? So he's working here. If we get something running inside on that, he's going to pick it up. So what they do is they run something underneath, something a little bit deeper. I don't necessarily know what the route combination, we called this shallow, I believe. I don't want to give away exactly what we called it, but we called it shallow. But again, all that you're doing here is you're confusing defensive backs. This dude's got no chance on obviously covering that. He's going to work to the innermost receiver, which he believes is Kareem Hunt. We work this tight end right behind it in a little hunt route. Really good job sitting down on it. Stuff like that is going to win you football games in this situation, right? And then, of course, one thing I really liked about this is you got the Steelers in situations where they were going man-on-man, which gives you the opportunity to win these one-on-one matchups on the outside, which is exactly what we see from Baker Mayfield at the bottom here. Take your chances in these big games, right? Don't be dumb with the football. Take your chances in a smart way, but I think that taking your chances mixed with Stefanski's play action, his run action is going to open up a lot downfield. And then once again, looking at the Browns' empty formation here, not necessarily messing with this dude who's working towards number 3 in this situation, but what we're getting is these 2 cats on an island. And anytime you can get a backer on a receiver in this situation, you're going to take that opportunity. Works right over the top. We've got nobody else in the middle of the field. Really good job getting that ball off for a first down. So anyway, guys, that's all I got for you today. I think for the Browns to win this game, they got to be great running the football, get your play action going, be smart about how you're taking your chances, really manipulate the Steelers with that empty stuff. Like I said, the Browns did a really good job of that in this Week 17 game. If you can do that and create long drives, you're going to have a chance to win this football game. And the Steelers are a good football team, and I think that they have every shot to make a run at this thing and to be contenders in the playoffs, but I do think that the Browns have a chance to beat them early, which would be really cool for Cleveland, 100%. But it'll be really interesting to see how they do without Stefanski and Joel Bitonio. They got to play a really good football game, but I would not shy away from the Browns in this one. I think that they're going to come to play. So anyway, guys, that's all I got for you today. If you enjoyed this video, if you could hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, button to my channel, The Hook Cam, as well as to Jackson Kruger Sports. That would mean the world to both of us. So that's all I got for you guys today. I'll hopefully be breaking down one more game for this wild card weekend. Looking at the Titans, Ravens next, but that's all I got for you guys today. I'll be back in the week with some more content. Stay safe, wash those hands, and I'll see you next time.